I guess my crypto journey started in 2017, a freshman in college at that point. As soon as I graduated in 2020, I started working full-time at CMS Holdings, where I was doing a lot of research and then venture investing. Bots are always bad, even if they're just liking tweets or if they're like in Discord trying to chat. It ruins the experience for real people. Creating memes was one thing that I did like very early on. I think public testnet is going to be a really big wow moment for a lot of people that have probably heard of Monad, but they're just waiting until they can actually get their hands dirty and use it and see what it's like. I basically want to build the product, and if I build the best product, then it will be successful. Like that is the overarching goal. I think 10 years from now, the way that people use crypto will look very, very different, and it will be unlocked because of scaling and throughput.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Intract Gems podcast, your daily bite of the growth, engagement, marketing, and strategies piece in the Web3 marketing space, where we get the best leaders in the space to come together and share their insights in an interesting format comprising of rapid fires plus some deep dives. And today, we have Kevin from the Monad team, also popularly known as Intern as per his Twitter bio. And super excited to have him in the space. Monad is doing something very crazy in terms of Web3 growth and community building. So looking forward to having him. Kevin, over to you. Maybe you can just introduce yourself first before we get into it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I guess a little bit about me. I guess my crypto journey started in 2017. I was a freshman in college at that point. As soon as I graduated in 2020, I started working full-time at CMS Holdings, where I was doing a lot of research and then venture investing. So I was at CMS for a little over 2.5 years. And then, I've been working to grow Monad, coming up on 2 years now, which seems pretty crazy. It's been a long journey. I'm head of growth at Monad, so wear a lot of different hats. Do stuff on marketing and community side, do stuff on the eco growth side, direct venture support, and also just working hands-on with a lot of the teams that are building on top of Monad to try to put them in a good spot.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? I think head of growth means just wearing too many hats, especially at an ecosystem like Monad with developers, users, and even infrastructure providers. Got it. Awesome. So once again, welcome Kevin to the podcast. We'll now jump into the rapid fire questions. So the very first question, Kevin, for you, and this one's like an obvious one. What do you think is like the best non-EVM chain out? Some controversy to begin with.
I mean, all right, easy answer is Solana, in my opinion. Solana is my favorite blockchain. Has been for about 3 years now. I'm going to throw in the cheeky Bitcoin answer as well. I think that's probably a sleeper pick. Outside of those two, probably Sui. And then, kind of a longer tail after that.
Makes sense. Very interesting answers. Didn't expect Sui to be there. But I think there are a lot of people who still love Sui. The next one. And this one I know is coming from you, so it'll be super interesting to hear, right? Because I love your account when it comes to Web3 growth tips or, very detailed takes. Which other account or say an ecosystem Twitter handle you love that does some very good crazy Web3 marketing or growth content?
I think there's kind of like two different relevant categories. Like one would be posting off of main account, right? So in this case, it would be like posting from @Monad. In that category, I think Polymarket does a really good job. I think the intern stint that they had and then the growth that they've seen are like great tailwinds for them, but I think they've consistently done well. I think Phantom, the wallet, PH Phantom, does a really good job. Their content is like consistently up there, most liked. Maybe my hot take, I think back in the day, FTX actually did it incredibly well. I thought they were kind of like a gold standard. That ended up being actually really bad that they did it well, right? Because it made the blow up even worse. But I thought they had a pretty good main account. In terms of individuals, I'm going to throw Kobe out there actually, I think the only time that Kobe would be a sleeper pick, but I think he does a really good job with Echo. He also he was fantastic at posting off of the up only account. So I think that was really good. And then I think Sherlock Hodls, who actually joined Monad recently, I think he's like the smartest, most intuitive kind of meme creator or like CT poster out there. He just has like incredible feel for that game.
I didn't know what Sherlock Hodls. Interesting. I'm gonna follow him maybe after the end of this, podcast. Going to the next one, and this one is no surprise. My team was like, we need to ask this. Monad has, a great design sense. I think we have been looking up to you guys and so many other communities as well. So who do you think is like one or two very interesting Web3 designers that probably, we should follow?
I got to shout out my boy, Kevin Canlis at Monad. He has done a fantastic job. Like if you go and look at the brand assets and stuff that we've created, and it's like pre-hiring Casey and post-hiring Casey, it's like a world of difference. He's been fantastic. I don't know a lot of other designers, but I know Kevin Canlis has been A plus from our side. I also think there's like this funny other side of design where it's like you either want things, it's like the bell curve meme. You either want things to look really, really professional and well done, or the other side, which I call like deep fried memes. Like you on purpose, you want it to look like you just created a sticker in 5 seconds and posted on something. I think both can actually work really well. And there's kind of an art to the deep fried side too, like making sure it like looks like you just crossed out whatever the word was and put your own word on top of it.
Yeah, interesting take, right? I think I've seen a few accounts. I think the 0x Designer, which is not necessarily a design account, but talks out about user experience. That's been one of the accounts that at least we also follow. But yeah, I think I love what Monad has done, right? I think I've looked at your templates so many times when it comes to designing our own. So yeah, awesome. The next one, and this one's got nothing to do with Web3. You gotta touch some grass, right? So what's your favorite sport out there?
So my favorite sport to play has always been soccer. I played lacrosse in college. I like soccer more, but I just happened to be better at lacrosse. And then for watching, definitely football. I think college football on Saturdays and NFL on Sundays like my favorite thing to watch of like any media content, TV show, movie. I think it's just a ton of fun to watch football with some of your buddies.
Awesome. Cool. Let's go to the next one. And this was the last one in the rapid fire round. And then we get into the detailed deep dive questions, right? So, I think we have heard so much about bots sensible in the last couple of months or even more, right? In the entire Web3 ecosystem, right? And I've seen teams being split. They either want no bots or they're okay with, a certain percentage of bots as long as, they're not getting rewarded. And the logic is, if the bots are willing to pay the fee, if the bot is willing to deposit the liquidity, then it's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, that's going to help the ecosystem thrive. Where do you personally stand when it comes to this entire no bots policy or low bots policy?
Yeah, I mean, look, if bots are going to be active users, then 100%, right? If they're going to pay fees and they're actually using protocols, like that's completely fine. I have a pretty firm stance on anything on the social layer that bots are always bad. Even if they're just liking tweets, or if they're like in Discord trying to chat, it ruins the experience for real people when you have bots in there. And I think the connection of real people is like hands down the thing that you want to optimize for. So I've found bots to 100% of the time always be bad on the social side of things. For apps, yeah, if one person wants to create 10,000 wallets and pay fees for whatever reason they want to do that, then like, all the power to them.
Makes sense. I think I've seen a lot of bots on the Firecaster ecosystem. And recently with the new upgrade of channels, I think that would be solved. But still, I totally agree. At least in the social layer, bots actually degrade the experience a little bit too much. Especially with generative AI, you see a lot of these comments that seem meaningful, but the moment you look at them, they're kind of just irrelevant to the conversation happening. So definitely a kind of like a downer for all the experience that you want to create. Makes sense. Yeah. Moving on to the detailed question, the deep dives, right? And some hot takes from you. I'll just ask you maybe 3 questions instead of the 4 that are planned, just for the brevity of this entire podcast. So the first question: Monad has been doing things quite differently when it comes to community growth. In fact, I would say you guys have like pioneered in the last 1 year how to look at growing community as a L2 or L1 ecosystem, right? So how do you sort of go about it? Like, what's the secret sauce behind this entire Monad community growth?
It's a really good question. I think it's very important. I think that like probably the biggest thing that we've done differently is we've just spent way more time, energy, effort, resources on community than like any other team I know. I would go as far as saying like 5x as much time and energy on this. And I think it's actually a very good use of time. If you get really strong community, a lot of things that are previously impossible like become possible and become actually really good opportunities. And so a few of those would be like, if there's a diehard Monad community, and a developer wants to come and build on top of a chain, they know that they're going to have like 10,000 super fans on day one because they're building on top of Monad. So it's been very attractive for developers and people that want to build their startups on top of Monad. I think it's also like we spent so much time trying to create a great community that people who are very skilled and want to be part of a good community, like there's a gravity to coming to Monad for that reason. So like if you really enjoy making art and you're looking for a place to kind of, push that out, if you do it in the Monad community, you're going to get, a following super quickly. You're going to get a lot of people that appreciate your art. Everyone's going to be liking your tweets and stuff. Like you have this built-in audience. And so I think we get a lot of very talented people that come to the community just as like a shelling point of where talented people on the internet go. And that's led to like, I don't know, I think we have like over 50 people that have been hired directly out of the community since we started, either to the Monad team or to teams that are building on top of Monad and like want someone to like run their community, for example. And so the entire thing has become this like cohesive, larger community with like subgroups within the eco. And so, yeah, those are kind of two things, right? Like we have very talented people in the community that are like getting very well paying jobs. And like, they get to now work in crypto full time because they showed talent on the community side. So like, I think those are two kind of key takeaways. But yeah, you gotta, it takes a very, very long time. I think people that try to cut corners and create community very quickly, either through like incentives or like questing platforms and try to get social engagement, like they're going the wrong way. It's just something that, because like it inherently takes a long time to form real relationships with people. But if you get there, then it's very long lasting. It's not something that just like dissipates.
Yeah, I think the harder things do take a lot more time than probably the shortcuts, which won't last. And as we're seeing with the whole airdrop meta, I think so many companies and communities with a lot of traction today are like left reeling. So yeah, I think Monad can sort of change that and create a different playbook for how you look at growth. And in fact, we look up to you guys. The way we have modeled our ambassador program is based on you, on Vera, and a few other ecosystems that we really respect. And nothing better than to hear that wisdom firsthand from you in this podcast. Moving on to the next one, right? And this one's something that again is very special to us and to even our partners because they keep asking us these questions quite a lot. When it comes to building a ecosystem or like a two-sided marketplace for your developers and users, right? What do you think is Monad's unique strategy to onboarding developers and like any best practices that you can share, right, with other ecosystems who might be looking to also onboard developers? That'll be super cool.
Yeah, I think the key is to look at it from the developer's point of view and think about like if you were in their shoes, what are the things that you would like and appreciate, and then work backwards to create them. So, for example, if I have a product idea and I want to start a project in crypto, I basically want to build the product. And if I build the best product, then it will be successful. Like that is the overarching goal. There are a lot of things that need to happen along the way that they might not be the best person for. But at building that product, they are the best person. And so having different support systems in place to help them do the things that are necessary, but they might not be the best fit to do, is really good. So the example I just used on the community front, right? Like, you don't have to start from scratch. You start with 10,000 super fans. You don't need to worry about hiring the right person. Like, there are hundreds of people that would be great fits, and we know all of them and could just connect you with someone to run that side. So like community marketing, getting audience, like that is very easy from the Monad front. I think venture support is also something that's important, right? Like these teams a lot of the time need to raise money to hire people to scale up the product. So like having a team that's very well suited, connected to a lot of people that are looking to invest in projects building on Monad has been very helpful. So like de-risking and making it as easy as possible on the venture side and the community side has been very good. I think also just being EVM compatible like really helps, right? There are a ton of developers who know Solidity, know how to build for the EVM, and there hasn't really been anything interesting to go and do that's like new on the EVM for, 5 years maybe. So like adding a new design space to a language that people already know just kind of helps, right? That's like a tailwind. Yeah, I think, and just creating any actively creating any resources that that developers would like and make their experience easier is also really important. So like having the right collateral. Kevin Galler on our team is an awesome DevRel, right? Like he's constantly talking to developers that are building on Monad, helping them with anything that, anything that would be beneficial to their team. So yeah, I think just like being high in empathy, like thinking about what problems they have, what risks they see, and making sure that you can support as much as possible to like make sure they can just focus on building the thing that they want to build.
Talk about a lot of fundamentals, right, around just understanding what the developers want, then building processes and structures around it, right? And I personally think I like the whole Monad Madness concept that you guys have launched. It was super interesting. I know there are grants on other ecosystems, but kind of looking at it in a more professional sense by kind of incubating companies, giving them startup support. Pretty cool. Yeah, makes sense. On to the last question, and then, I think we can probably just roll it off, and then maybe unofficially, if you want to chat about something, we can do that. Cool. So this one's, okay, so both the questions are very interesting, but let's maybe talk about this one that will probably have a bigger mass appeal, right? So you have a massive Twitter following, around 90,000 followers, right? And again, you must have grown quite gradually into that entire influence. But what do you think are, say, some tips for novices who are building out their own Twitter accounts in the space? We have founders, we have developers, we have users, everyone who's looking to like grow the Twitter following. So some silver bullets. That'll be super interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good question. What you want to do is figure out what type of value you can provide to other people. It might be one thing, it might be kind of a grouping of different skill sets that you have to offer. But basically like figuring out why people would follow your account, what are the valuable things that you do for like the general public of crypto Twitter, and then making sure you just actually put out the content like that. And so mine has actually taken kind of somewhat of a different arc over the different stages of like my professional career in crypto. So when I was at CMS Holdings, at that point I was at CMS intern. And so creating memes was one thing that I did like very early on, that like I was at that point I was just like younger than everyone who was working in the space. And so I just, I grew up on the internet. I kind of had a good understanding of like what memes work and why, and knew that people just universally like them. So figuring out how to like create funny memes and put stuff out that people like is good. I also would take notes on a bunch of stuff. So like it kind of, I was reading and watching a ton of content on crypto, and I was taking notes anyways for myself. And so I realized that like just putting them out there, right? Someone can read what happened, what was talked about on Up Only in 2 minutes instead of watching the podcast for 2 hours. And people found that valuable is something I was doing anyways. So like leaning into that side. And it was really notes and memes for a very long time. I think probably in the last year or so, talking about community building and like growing a company or a project in crypto, like I've just spent a lot of time thinking about it and trying to do things well. And I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in learning about. So like putting out content around that. And then, yeah, so basically like what I would suggest to someone is find a unique thing that is a strength for you, that is valuable to other people, and then just like double down on that and build the brand around that. Like if you are say you're an auditor at a security firm in crypto, like you have a subset of specific knowledge, which is very valuable for other people. They might be interested. They want to hear about it. Create content around it, right? Like write your thoughts on things. Like don't think about it too much. Like just kind of write out how you view things, like what your specific knowledge is. Try to make it easy to understand, and then just like tweet it. And like it will just emerge over time. Like people are interested in these things, and you'll kind of grow a following around that because people actually want to hear what you have to say. I think it's one of the highest leverage things, especially for young people to do, in crypto specifically. Like I think there's a lot of opportunities that I've gotten and been able to kind of make use of because of Twitter, right? Like for better or worse, it's something that like is valued on the crypto side. And it kind of acts as like your resume versus like if you're going for like a banking thing, your resume is quite literally your actual resume. In crypto, right? Like your resume can just be your Twitter account. Like if you're going for like a growth role or BD or something, and you have a ton of social proof of like you have good content that you've put out, people like it, there's a following there, you just are given a lot more trust out of the gate than if you didn't have it. And so I think it's something that like it's good practice to write. It kind of clears up your own thoughts. So like I would recommend doing it even if there wasn't leverage to be gotten. But yeah, I think the fact that there is leverage, like it's a very easy way to kind of separate yourself if you're trying to grow in the space in general.
I think those were most of my questions. Thanks a lot, once again, Kevin, for joining the podcast, right? Maybe in this part, you can talk a little bit more about Monad, right, and what to expect. And then, we can wrap it up. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah.
I want to shill some Monad, but maybe just talk about Monad and what's cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things coming out in the near future that should be pretty exciting on the Monad front. I think public testnet is going to be a really big wow moment for a lot of people that have probably heard of Monad, but they're just waiting until they can actually get their hands dirty and use it and see what it's like. And there's kind of just been this like nascent energy waiting to check it out. And I think people are probably under indexing on what it will feel like. I think a lot of people are going to have this wow moment the first time they use it. And that's really exciting, right? So that's something to look forward to on the Monad front in the near future. I think I'm also really excited to see like Monad is a new design space for EVM developers that has never existed before. And I think there are a lot of ideas that can now be built and tested on Monad, which were previously impossible. There's things around high fidelity DeFi. There's things on the consumer facing side. But yeah, basically like if you increase the bandwidth or the throughput of, an entire environment by 100x or 1000x, you can build very different things, right? You can think about it as like when internet speeds got much faster from like 2002 to 2012, you had web pages and email in 2002, like 2012, you didn't just have faster web pages and faster email, right? Like all of a sudden YouTube was created, like Netflix could be created, Instagram, TikTok now, like most of the ways people use the internet were impossible to do back when like the internet kind of first became ubiquitous. And so I think that side, like crypto apps, right? We have a number of crypto apps that we think about when we think of what is crypto used for. Payments is one of them. Like NFTs or speculation on meme coins are kind of a hot topic right now. I think 10 years from now, the way that people use crypto will look very, very different, and it will be unlocked because of scaling and throughput. So that's what I'm really excited for, like in the long term. But yeah, I think short term, people just realizing what this actually is, that excitement coming in, and then people just figuring out what they can now build on this new environment.
Makes sense. So yeah, that was it. Thanks a lot, Kevin, for joining in.